We are live.
Bargani.
Money.
Greetings,
What do you have
everyone.
faith in? Do we have some friends? Let's invite some friends.
Yeah, let's invite.
Hey.
We never invite people.
Dion Hackett.
Who should we invite?
Everybody. Invite them all. They just say yes or they say no. Invite her too. Invite them all. Everybody. Invite.
Hey, we never do this, right?
Yes, we never do that. Especially invite him. That's my man. Invite her. Yeah, invite everybody.
Greetings, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Habaragani. Imani.
Please share the video and please feel free to invite someone else.
That's right.
Today, we are actually talking about love rituals, love and light, peace and love. Senor Guerra. So good to see you, or to virtually see you.
Oh, she said
snap! Oh, snap! Well, we're
gonna be quick for you, Melanie. Thanks for rocking with us, my brother Sham Jones. I'm sure you're doing your thing. I've been kind of following you a little bit, but we've been so busy. And certain people I always check in with, and my man Sham Jones is always one. So salute to you, Habaragani. Happy New Year.
Yes.
So it's Moncho and the Washer, the Acoma House Initiative, the Art and Science of Black Love Culture. We are continuing on with our conversation.
Oh, snap.
We are continuing. What about my hair?
Let me love that one. Thanks.
Felicia Cole, how you doing, Queen? It's good to see you. He said Nawasha's hair looks lit. Yeah. What about my hair? That's what I want. Could somebody comment on mine? Is mine lit or is it dim? But in any event, it's the opposite. It's till. Okay. That's all good. So Brittany Janae, what's up? So we've been talking about our home study course, which is an audio-visual program with heart work assignments. It's called the Acoma Heart to Heart, and it has 4 modules. Over the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about the different modules. So we started with module 1, which is purpose. We then moved on to module 2, which is thought. Last week we talked about we talked about effective speaking and active listening, the art and science of speaking and listening. That's number 3. And then the 4th module is what we affectionately call he say, she say, which we dealt with last week, which is the difference between the way men communicate and process information and women process and communicate their information. And so those complete the modules in the program, but then we have some bonuses in the program. And today we really want to talk about the main bonus that you get is the love rituals. So what are the love rituals? What is ritual and why is it relevant to love?
You can actually check out the little video that is on Heart to Heart. If you check the link, you can see a summary of ritual and how we use the 4 elements in ritual. But ritual is actually just inviting a special connection. So the connection to the divine, the connection to spirit, inviting that into your relationship. So it's always there, of course, but you want to set the tone for this is the beginning, this is the middle, and this is the end. So for rituals, we all have rituals, you know, the way we do anything special. So it could be the way we set up our workspace before we know we have to write. It could be the way that we get psyched up to go to the gym. It could be the way that we cook. You know, we want to have our things out, or we set the music, or, you know, whatever that is. But in our relationship, we also have opportunity to be more mindful and present with what we're doing. So ritual, in a sense, is the specialness of you setting up, this is how I want to mark the beginning and call in some divine energy into what we're about to do. This is how I mark the middle, and this is how I mark the end. So sometimes we talk about ritual and ceremony, because we have a lot of ceremonies in relationships. like, asking somebody out, going out on a date, some of the big ceremonies like having a wedding. And we have rituals inside of those ceremonies sometimes. So it could be something that people tend to do in weddings is have flowers, for new life and blooming. People have other rituals like jumping the broom. They have throwing the bouquet, cutting the cake, different things that you do in some of our major ceremonies you can see.
Right.
But in the day-to-day, rituals can actually help you anchor in certain principles in your relationship.
Peace, Glenn
So
Fitzgerald.
it could be,
much love and respect, brother.
how do we have loving conversations? How do we have intimate conversations? How do we build intimacy? How do we, I was going to say intimacy.
See?
I see, like sometimes people break down intimacy.
Faruma Ott, what's happening?
But how do you restore balance after an argument? How do you restore trust? All of those things could really be a process that we go to that we kind of say is like a toolkit. So we wanted to go over a couple of those and ask you how you do certain things in your relationship already, and then just show you some of the ways that we do it. So this is this is the bonus, or in addition to those major modules of communication,
Cousin Alfred,
we have a way to really put into practice of how to do those, how to make your conversation be more full of more trust and more intimacy and more love and just better harmonious communication.
Right. It's important because we need to know the specific ways to do things. Okay. Farouk said he's hurting and he needs our assistance. We're there for you, Brother Haru.
Yes.
I'll reach out to you. But you need to know a specific way to do a thing, because we talk too abstractly, like we need to communicate better, we need more intimacy, we need to build trust. And when we ask people, how do you do that? They have no idea. So a part of the problem is that we have these emotional goals, but we don't have a mechanism to achieve them. And so what we created at the Acoma House Initiative is, Nawasha's holding up right now, and we're going to get into. We created a series of what we call pocket rituals. So again, ritual is just a specific way to do a thing. So if you study sports or anything, when somebody's at the foul line, the way they shoot, that is the particular way that they shoot their foul shot. And in any sports, football, soccer, whatever, track, tennis, you bounce the ball a couple of times before you hit, like Serena, that's her serving ritual. But there are rituals for restoring, there are rituals for setting up practice, and there are rituals for healing, etc. So we created pocket rituals that are simple little gifts that you would use on date night or you would use during a special time, and they help you methodize or systemize the way you do a thing. So we have 4 pocket rituals tonight that we're going to go over quickly. Nawasha's going to do 2 and I'm going to do 2, and they're kind of really dealing with the elements. So let's rock. Ladies
these are
first.
actually, more of the common elements. We, as talk about African technology or philosophy or spirituality, we talk about having 7 elements. But some philosophies only talk about 4. So again, like how we talk about the senses, the 7 senses are thought, emotion, seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching. So we kind of just focus on seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching. And the senses are a way to interpret your environment. So basically, you can see, you can hear, you can touch, you can smell. Which one did I forget? See, hear, touch, smell.
Taste.
So that's how you're interpreting your environment. But the truth is that you also are thinking to interpret your environment, like we talked about when we went over the modules. You're also having emotions to interpret your environment. And really, there is an order that those things are coming first before you get into the physical.
Right.
The same thing happens with the elements. So these pocket rituals are concentrated on the elements that, we tend to think of first. So air, fire, water, and earth. Right. But there's also the element of ether. Sometimes people, depending on if you're doing something Ayurvedic, and or, you know, maybe a fraction, maybe an Asian philosophy, or just depending on where you are, you might get 5 elements, and you might have the ether as an element. But we also have an African philosophy. You want to say the 7 elements?
Yes, Shan said I'm tearing them strawberries up. Yes,
See,
Sam, let me tell you
food.
about the
Tell
7
Sam about
elements.
the 7 elements.
So we talked about rationale, emoting, causatation, olfactory, visual, kinesthetic, and audition.
Oh, yeah.
But there are 7 main senses in the universal scheme of things that all things are made of.
Mm-hmm.
And they are magnetism, which is often mistaken for gravity. Then you have electricity, and then you have light, and then you have ether, and then you have solid, liquid, and gas, or gas, liquid, and solid, depending on if you're doing ascending or descending order. And those 7 elements make up everything in the universe, are made up of those 7 elements. Ether is the center one, is the triple stage blackness, and it's the thing that all things emanate out of. And so, but those 7 elements are important. So we created pocket rituals with the understanding of this. If I tell you something, you will remember about 30% of it. And I'm sure many of you have seen that exercise in team building where somebody says something and then it goes around the room. By the time it comes back, it's totally different and changed. If I show you something, though, you will remember maybe about 45 to 50 to 60, some depending on how keen you are, % of it. But if you actually do it, if you actually do what I'm showing you, your memory retention will go up like to 90+%. And if you do it regularly, you become it. And so our ancestors understood this. And so they created rituals to teach you about the stars, ritual to teach you about emoting or the rationale process, a specific way to do a thing that anchors in your nervous system, your psychological registering system of your 7 senses in a way that you will never forget it. So now the most practical way I could think of to tell people is that when you hear that song that takes you back to your grandmom's home cooking, or when you with your first love or whatever, it will, if you stay in that state long enough, you begin to smell something, you begin to feel something. You're like, damn, I can almost smell them pancakes, or I can almost smell those things. This is what we call in psychology anchor. And what our ancestors knew, where this concept comes from, is that they were able to ritualize or methodize or systematically do a thing in a way so that you would never forget it in your nervous system. And it will trigger off the feeling that you want to experience.
And there's also an element that is unknown in ritual.
Right.
So like the difference between something that's laid out completely, like a ceremony. So like your wedding, it's going to start at this time. We're going to do this at this time. We're going to have this on the menu. There's also the element that is happening that is unknown. So you don't know what's really going to go on at the wedding or at the reception. There's like the element of surprise. So ritual is bringing in, it's kind of asking for the presence of mind, and the presence of really spirit and divinity. And, that is the purpose of ritual. So you have an intention, you're asking for something. You kind of know what you want to do, and then you have the end. You have a thank you and a closing of some kind.
Cheater.
So we're going to start out with feather. So first I want to say, how do you lighten the mood in your relationship? So now this could be any relationship, could be the intimate, could be family, could be, anything that you can think of, but how do you already lighten the mood? So what's in your toolkit that you're like, okay, it's getting kind of serious, let me lighten the mood, or I need to let go of something. So how do I lighten my own heart? What we're using for the air element is a feather. So we're using this feather. We're using white. And when someone does heart to heart, or they take the pocket rituals from us, they get this little reminder. So this is the feather pocket ritual. And basically it goes over the symbolism of a feather. So this one says, feathers represent truth, perfect balance, and the highest moral and ethical standard. They symbolize the higher mind because they're associated with air, the skies, and the heavens. One classical example is in the Egyptian weighing of the heart ceremony. On Judgment Day, if the heart was as light as a feather, the soul was deemed pure and the spirit could move freely into ascension. If it was heavy or full of wrongdoings, the soul would cease to exist. So this is, we talk about symbolism a lot, but when you're thinking about what the elements are, what the senses are, you're looking at everything that's around you in your home, in your living space, what you're creating, and just what you're seeing, even in nature, as a reminder of some principle about yourself. So a lot of times we do need to keep a light heart. Even in ancient texts, there's conversation about your heart being part of your personality or a connection to your individual self, your soul. And one way that you use the feather ritual is actually on the back of the card. So the front of the card talks about symbolism. The back of the card says, this is a ritual for maintaining a light heart. So you can carry a small feather. You can definitely have a feather on your love altar, whatever space you share as a couple. You can hold the feather and have intimate conversation. You can use the feather when you're going to have a heated conversation and say, let me make sure that I'm holding this thing. So this is the elements working with the senses. When you really hold a feather and you feel how light it is, everybody can say the expression, have a light heart. But when you feel the feather and you're holding it, you're saying, this is what my heart was weighed up against. My heart should be this light, and I should take understanding from the birds, and from every time I see a feather, that should anchor me back into either the laws of Ma'at, the idea of keeping a light heart, the idea of being able to let go. And these are outside reminders of things that I could do internally. So now we can purposefully use them like a toolbox, or we can take them as tools in a toolbox, or we can take them just symbolism. And it can also be used intimately. So of course this is very light and fluffy and soft.
And it tickles.
So you need to use your own creativity, but this would be the example of the feather ritual.
Okay. And so now we're going to go to the element of water. And when you get your pocket rituals, they're going to come in these little bags, and they have the ritual card that you will pull out for yourself and your beloved. And they actually have the actual item in here. And in the water pocket ritual, what we're dealing with is the element of water and the many things that that water represents. So in this case, I want to just talk about a cleansing ritual. So you can use your pocket ritual for foot washings. You could use them for anointing, to clear space, to clear your mind. These symbolic rituals you will see in many religions. You see them in many ceremonies, in marriages and different things like that. But it really serves no purpose to just do it on Sunday, or to just do it, at a one-time ceremony. You need to be able to do it just like you do certain things at your job or in your life on a regular basis, so that it becomes conditioned in. Again, what we see, we remember a little bit. What we hear, we remember a little bit. But what we do, we actually remember the most. And what we do regularly, we become. So this says, countless creation myths hold water as the start of life. We are all made of water. It is essential to our existence. So we instinctively resonate with its universal symbolism of peace, cleansing, fertility, renewal, freedom, and purity. Water is honored as the first home of the fetus as it develops in the womb. It adapts easily as gas, liquid, or solid. It fits into the smallest spaces, but also captivates us in large bodies like lakes, rivers, and oceans. Water is known as the carrier of our emotions through our sweat, blood, and tears. And so we all use that term. And then on the back of the pocket ritual, it actually tells you how you can use it. But you can use your creativity. One thing that we might do is a foot washing for each other. If we want to clear the way of our path, we're noticing that we have not been walking in the path that we want to, and we've been confused, or we've been drawn off the path out of whatever, focusing on other things or being caught up, having traumatic emotions. We had a rough year this year, and so we were off of our course, our charted course. So one of the things that you could do with the water pocket ritual is to take it out, get a basin. You might have it with rose water in it when you get it from us to symbolize the love. You can wash your beloved's feet and, chart a new path, lay out some rice paper, and then say, hey, we're walking down a symbolic new path. Or you can anoint it on your hands and say that I'm washing away the deeds that I've done that may have hurt you, and submit your hands to your partner and let them inspect. And then you might anoint your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and to represent your heart and your mind, to represent a cleansing of the things that you're doing. Now, these things may seem, on the one hand, it may seem like it's not really that powerful, but if you do it in an intimate space, you are really going to see the power and the profundity of doing a symbolic ritual to represent something in a way that you and your partner are linked to. And it symbolizes more than just saying, we need to clear the air, or we need to cleanse out what's going on. You actually did the cleansing. And so the feeling of cleansing is pervasive.
And do you, is there anything that you can think of that you already use water? I think sometimes couples take baths together, they take showers together, so when you're thinking of it, whether it's intimacy.
You need to take a bath together.
If it's intimacy, communication, or trust, you may already do this. So like if you're like, did I make my love a cup of tea? Really we are talking about what is natural to us is to have the elements and to live with the elements back and forth. But right now, a lot of times we're living in ways that are unnatural to us. So we don't think about, I have to take a bath. It's function, but actually it can be intimate. It can be that you added oils, or you added flowers, or you added, salt. There's like a healing method to really using the elements, and you're also made up of all of the elements. So I know like when we do chemistry class, you're reading the periodic table. If you Google elements, you're going to see the periodic table as though it's separate from you. But when you really go to class, if you remember chemistry, or you just even look it up and say, yes, there's every single element, even gold. There's a trace element of gold inside of my body. There's a trace element of everything that is real and natural on the periodic table is inside of me. So how am I already using these things in order to connect with more of who I am at the core level? So that was air and water.
Right.
I have over here fire. So inside of this pocket ritual is a little bundle of sage. So for sage, of course, this is going to also bring up the sense of smell, and could be sight also. But one way for us to use this is as a cleanser. So this could be, a lot of people burn sage at the beginning of the week, at the end of an argument, at the, whenever I'm cleaning, a spiritual cleaning. So I might actually physically clean, but then after I clean, I'll burn the sage and open up the windows as part of my clearing the air, So one of the things about lighting incense or, burning sage is that you actually see the smoke. You see a little bit of fire, you see the smoke, and then you can follow the smoke. So it kind of is a blend of going with the air element, because you really don't see air, right? But you can see the smoke of whatever you lit traveling through the room, and then even going out of the window if you do open up the window. But one of the things that we do with sage is create the ash circle. So we've talked about the ash circle. We make reference to how Symbolism listed doing the ash circle in the spirit of intimacy, where really you light the sage, you're going to have a little ash from what you lit, and then you are going to create a circle in your space that is of ash. And the purpose of that is to set some sacred space in order to step into the circle, because circles are very powerful symbolism by themselves.
Right.
But a couple would step into the circle and sit back to back, spine to spine, heart to heart, and line yourself up in that way that you're not looking at each other, but you're feeling each other. And inside of this ash circle, you can release grievances, you can talk about what has hurt you, but you are fully aware again in the process of ritual that you're going to say, I have a beginning, I have a middle, I have an end. So the beginning is us with intention setting up the ash circle. It's now anchored in, like how Masha was saying, in your senses, because I smell the ash, I see the fire. We've now outlined a circle, and we're getting into the circle to be back to back. So all of those types of things are part of the process or the ceremony and the ritual. What happens when you get in there? You don't know. You don't know what someone's going to say. You don't know what someone's going to, maybe bring up. But this is one of the ways that we suggest that people let go of things within a short amount of time. So if there's a grievance, like, hey, you left the dishes in the sink, you left the towel in the bathroom, instead of having those small things add up and up and up and up, that like 5 months from now you're having an argument, you're like, and you always leave the dishes in the sink, and I'm tired of picking up your towel. And somebody's like, what towel? What are you talking about? Like this, so from 5 months ago. If you can say that every week I know that this sacred space time is coming up, and we have an ash circle at 7 p.m. on Sundays every single week, I know that I'm going to now weigh, is this something that I should let go on my own, or is this something I really should bring up? And I know that when we are in the ash circle, it's a sacred space, and when we step out, we can now come face to face, hug and kiss, and restore and repair and be happy again, instead of holding secret grievances. So that's just, again, one way that you can use the ash circle. You would use use the sage. You would use your own creativity, but it could just be lighting the sage, burning it in the space, opening a window, burning it after an argument as the signal to clear the air, or formally setting up something that's more extensive, like an ash circle. Right.
And so there are countless ways to use the pocket rituals. We are sharing with you just some simple ways, some introductory level ways that you can use the pocket rituals. But again, the point is, when you do something systematically, it anchors into your nervous system, your mind, your heart, and all of your other 5 senses in a way that makes it bigger than the actual concept of clearing the air or cleansing the problem or burning away or creating an intimacy circle. The ash circle, you will hear us refer to it a lot. It is really profound, and it really, really, for the brothers that are out there, this is really a way to really wow your woman, bro. You don't got to do a lot of extra super fragilistic expialidocious stuff. All you have to do is put your woman in the ash circle. Make the ash circle on the floor. You want to take it to another level, you can do nude ash circles back to back. You can light a candle. You can use the sand timer. And what, like they say in that commercial, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in that intimacy circle stays in that intimacy circle. And this is the way that you build trust, because a lot of women are saying to me, I want to have a brother that I can trust. And I asked them, well, how do you build trust? And then they don't have a way. So you want something that you don't know how to produce. But I'm saying that these pocket rituals that we have created and that we are sharing with you are the way to produce those emotional states, like trust, like intimacy, like cleansing. People say, I just want to, what is that? They always say the process, I want to cleanse the process, or what is it that they say? I hear women say all the time, have closure. Yeah, I want to have closure to this process. So now I always ask people, well, how do you create closure? And they can't tell me. You can use these pocket rituals to systemize closure so that you actually feel it. Because one of the things that you have to understand, one of the reasons why you don't feel closure is that you don't have a way to produce closure. So you're yearning for a feeling, that you don't know how to produce. So you never know, closure might have happened. Because a lot of times for men, they're like, I closed it, it's over, you know, and the woman's like, no, I'm looking for some closure, and you deserve to have closure in your way. So you can use these pocket rituals to do that. So I'm going to close out with the fourth pocket ritual, which is quartz. And the pocket ritual for grounding is really just a way to ground your process. So I like to talk about communication with this one, because we have talked about that syntax of what do I feel, I want you to understand why, and then I want to give you an instruction. So if you enter into that conversation, you hold your rose quartz in your hand and you say, maybe you're in the intimacy circle, maybe you're face to face, maybe you're just sitting with a candle. You use the sand timer and you say, we have 2 minutes. I feel blank, and I really feel it on this level. I want you to understand that the reason I feel it is blank, blank, and blank. Now, what I am looking for you to do is blank. And you're able to communicate that in a 2-minute time period in a way that is letting your partner know exactly what you're looking for and what you expect from them. And it just systemizes the way that you do that. And it makes it so simple and easy that you can feel the confidence that I can go into any conversation, no matter how sensitive or how persistent it has been, confusing, or we have been challenged with it, and I can really deal with it in a way that will bring my relationship back to grounding. So that's just one way. There's many, many others. I don't want to get into them all, but that's just one way you can use this ritual. And when you get it, it comes with a beautiful piece of rose quartz that you can use, put on your love altar. And in the Acoma Heart to Heart program, the audiovisual program, we actually have a video in there to show you how to create a love altar that has elements of he, elements of she, and then elements of we. And so that's important to have. And that's a place that you go. You can keep all of your pocket rituals on the altar, and you can use them whenever you want to pull one down. Or one of the reasons we love to call them pocket rituals is because you can almost fit all of them in your pocket, take them with you, and wherever you're having a date or wherever you want to set intention, clear the air, burn away guilt or shame, or cleanse, or be lighthearted, you can pull it out and you can methodologically, step by step, do a ritual, a specific thing to create that emotion and really impact the quality of your relationship.
So it's, we make suggestions for how to use the rituals if you're single, if you just want to use them on your own altar, if you're actually in a couple, even with your children. It's a great thing to have like the talking stick. So if you say, hey, we're going to have a family meeting every single week, and we're going to just use the feather as the symbol for whoever is whoever is talking gets to hold the feather. And if you don't have the feather, then you can't talk. So like the idea is sometimes people do that with a talking stick, with a feather, with another symbol. We already do a lot of these things because it is the way that it gets anchored in immediately. So like it's with young children, with each other, with yourself, if you sit in meditation and you just have the feather and you're saying, I want to put this on my, for a light heart, in my mind, I want to be light. In my voice, I want to be light, and make sure that I speak with soft words, and whatever it is that you're doing, you can use either one of these just yourself as a working part of your toolbox, or you can use this in a group setting, like in the family, or as a couple.
Right. You have to understand about the importance of the pocket rituals. What you have to ask yourself is, whatever emotional state that you're looking for, or what we call in psychology emotional destination, what is it that you're looking to go? I'm looking to feel more trust, or I'm looking to feel more freedom, or I'm looking to feel whatever. You have to ask yourself, how have I done that in the past? And what you're going to find, if you're like most people, is that you really don't have a way to do it consistently. So at one point in your life, this was able to do it. At another point, this was able to do it. With the pocket rituals, there's many, with each pocket rituals, there's about 7 styles that you can use to do one. But the point is that if you ritualize it, it really doesn't matter if you're dealing with another person. Because what I find is what you're good at singularly, you're good at in your relationship. What you're not good at singularly, you're not good in your relationship. So the common denominator is you. You have to learn a way to methodize or strategize or systemize the feeling of trust. Long before you share that with anybody, you have to have it. Now, if you come into a relationship and you have created that, that bodes much better for you, because you can already say to the person, hey, this is how I develop trust, or this is how I get to the feeling of trust. How do you do it? If the person says, I don't have a way, say, hey, I got these 4 pocket rituals from Mansho and Nawasha. Let's try these and let's try to see what we can create. We can use their suggestions, or we could come up with our own, because we're all creative and spontaneous. So we want to use them in a variety of different ways so that you can create a whole toolkit. Using the same 4 products, you can create endless ways, about 7 or 8 with each one.
And you can overlap
so,
them.
right.
Because you're, like we said, you're going to have the air element when you burn the sage.
Right.
Or you can say after the ash circle, one of the ways that we're going to know it's done is that we're going to go take a shower together.
Right.
So you can say, hey, we had our air out and now we're going to have the cleanse.
Cleanse, right.
So I think that even the rose quartz, you can say, hey, we're going to put this under our pillow tonight for sweet dreams, or under the bed for sweet dreams, or we're going to hold this on our heart. We all need to do rituals with ourselves. We all need to go through the process of what is maintenance. How do I maintain my mind? How do I maintain my heart? Because a lot of times we think we're in the present moment, but we're not. We're worrying about the future, or we're fearful of the past. And sometimes when you feel like you can't rebuild trust, that's a person who is fearful of the past and fearful of the future. They're not really in the present moment most of the time.
And that's why when somebody asks you, how do you build trust? You can't answer it. All you can talk about is when you didn't have it, or that you expect not to have it. And so if you had a way to produce it, you could say, I don't feel trust. Let me do this over. My trust is rising. Because also, trust has one source, and that's self. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person. So good.
And we are disconnected a lot of times. So even when we have like a spiritual belief, we sometimes don't have spiritual practices on the everyday. So like all day, every day, we might be reading a spiritual text. We might have a certain time for prayer even. We might have things that we say we do and that we don't do. But a lot of times when it comes to what is your spiritual practice, like your known, felt, understood connection with the divine, a lot of times we don't have that. So what happens is when we're saying trust is coming from me, it's also coming from my connection to whatever I really get trust from. So if I'm more and more affirmed about myself through my spirituality, and not my necessarily religion, but my connection to God is what I'm saying, is my spirituality. If I'm connected to that, then what I'm saying is, even when someone broke my trust, I can contextualize that and say that was a character flaw that they have. You know, how do I restore faith in the world, faith in myself, and maintain my connection to God, that I can forgive a person who made the wrong choice and broke trust, right? So if that's in a relationship where you know the person and you actually want to be with them, then you have to say, how am I going to rebuild the trust with this person? You know, if it's somebody that you don't know, you can say, okay, I learned a lesson, and maybe I won't put myself in that environment again. If it's a business deal, or maybe a work or school interaction. But when it's like, this is my mom, this is my, brother, this is my, child maybe, or this is my mate, then I'm saying I don't want to be in a relationship with you moving forward, but stuck. If we're moving forward, but we're stuck, where are we really?
You're taking 5 steps forward and 10 steps back. And that's what's happening in a lot of relationships.
And it's because we don't learn these things when we're younger. We don't really learn how things are registering for us in our senses. Like I heard something, I don't trust it, I'm not connected to my intuition. Ritual helps you also get connected to your intuition. When you're doing something, you're going to say, okay, this feels like we're done. Or I feel like we received something and now we can close. Or this is how long the bath should be. Like some parts of it are your other self and your connection to your first self and your connection to divinity, however you see that, as this is the element that you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So you can put the circle together, you can hold the feather, but these are really things that we have to do with ourselves in order to be authentic with another person.
Right.
If I'm saying my heart is light and I want to maintain a light heart, it can be some work and some effort, but I know that I want to live a life of grace and I want to live a life that is real. So sometimes we're like, oh, there's tragedy. There's like birth and death, right, as the complements. And then in the middle of that, we have our life. So what is our life going to be? I think that sometimes we're afraid of breaking trust or, the unknown. So we're afraid of loss. We're afraid of death. We're afraid of losing trust or someone possibly hurting us. But the truth is things like that are going to happen. Right. So your real life is a connection that's beyond the physical. And that's why looking outside and seeing air and feeling better when you go to the park and feeling better when you're at the ocean, those things are not, it's not just because you're on vacation. It's not just because you're not at the desk. It really is the air and the trees and the water and the ground. It's taking note of what is real in the world and being able to bring that inside and to your relationships is so important.
Michelle Lewis, what's up?
Because this is how our ancestors have set up, some of the technology that we use right now is behind what our ancestors were using. So when we're talking about African technology, a crystal is a real thing. So we're like, oh yeah, crystals are in a watch and crystals are in the cell phone, but crystals are part of a real true technology. So you have a little fraction of a crystal in your cell phone. A little fraction of an element in your cell phones and watches. Right. But look what it can do. Look what it helps to do. So now imagine if you have a piece of rose quartz on your heart and you're meditating directly with that.
Right.
Imagine
and you had the real training to use it, because there's usually about 7 levels to everything. So there's 7 levels to the usage of crystals. And this culture, for all the things they're able to create, they may be skimming on 3. But there's 4 levels that they just have never been taught. And so through their arrogance, they don't believe it exists. And through our ignorance of following them, we feel the same way. And this is why at the Acoma House Initiative, it is vitally important that we express that what we're doing is reorientating you to your culture. Because without your culture, you don't have the mechanism to create trust, to create intimacy, to court, to date, to select a mate, to resolve conflict, and to build a love legacy and have children in that, and to create community. It is culture that teaches you that. Without your culture, you lost. And so one of the reasons why we're in these relationships dumbfounded and we can't produce simple things like trust is because we don't have a cultural model that teaches us. And so we're in our confusion, in our search for something effective, we're listening to everybody. And we've been taught at the same time we're listening to everybody not to listen to your ancestors because they are primitive. But in fact, they have the most advanced science that has ever existed. And most people, even though they have studied, stolen the artifacts and things like that, they just don't have the internal mechanism to connect to what they're seeing. And much of it they have never been shown because it's been hidden during this time. And that's a whole nother point. But the main point here is that we have created this Acoma Heart to Heart, an audiovisual communication program to help you be a better communicator. And you're going to get your 4 modules, which are purpose and communication number 1, thought and communication number 2, effective speaking and active listening number 3, he say, she say number 4, and then you're going to get a introduction to these rituals. But you can reach out to the Acoma House Initiative, and they will be on our website All 4 of these pocket rituals, you can actually get them. They're going to come in a beautiful package. You're going to be able to use them for yourself. It doesn't matter if you're in an intimate relationship or not. This is not, culture doesn't have anything to do with that. It starts with you. You have to mechanize and systemize how you do stuff before you're even qualified to be in a relationship. So many of us are in relationships, and the truth of the matter is we're not really qualified to be in them. And that's why they suck. And so we're trying to help you by giving you something that is going to, that you could practically do. Not some concept that we're talking about. You can get this pocket ritual, take it out, wash your lover's feet, wash your own feet in a systemized way with some water from the Hopi River. On our altar, we have water in sand from Kemet. But anywhere in Africa or anywhere in the world that is symbolic to you, you can go to your local neighborhood that you grew up in and pull the water or earth from that area. But when you get the pocket rituals from us, they actually come. The rose quartz comes with rose quartz. The sage comes with sage. The feather comes with a big, beautiful feather. And the water comes with a vial of water like this that you can use. And then the cards explain the general element and then how you use them. But all of this is compiled in the Akoma Heart to Heart program. The link is in the description. We want you to really go. We have an introductory video that they can see, and you could kind of get an introduction, but we want to improve the quality of communication. I know when we were out there looking, we didn't see this. So we said, hey, rather than complain that it doesn't exist, we're going to create it. And we're going to use our culture and our initiation and our educational expertise to create it. And so I feel as though we've done a good job, and we really want to serve you. So as we bring in this new year, this Roman Greco New Year of 2018, we really want you, those who are serious, that's who we're looking for. These products are a couple of dollars. If you can invest this little bit of money to time and energy and understanding and to practice this, then hey, this relationship thing, you can kick, whine, scream, and cry, but you're not going to magnetize somebody who wants to be with you and who wants to stay true to you and wants to be intimate with you. And I know that's what we all want. So I'm rambling, but I love you all. And this is really, really important, y'all. You've got to learn how to do a relationship. You got to just stop saying it in the air.
Do you have any rituals that you already do that you can, just sit back and take a look at? What do you do? What do you go to, as your maintenance? Like, what's something that you do to maintain the relationship that you have with yourself? Like, do you do self-love rituals? Like, where you're going to say, I'm going to do my hair. I'm going to
take a bath.
I'm going to do a manicure, pedicure. I'm going to make sure with intention I put on a oil, or, like when I go to put on my favorite perfume, because some of this is just about being what we call now, like mindfulness is a popular word, but it's just really present in the world. Right. So you're saying to yourself, like, how do I make amends? How do I, enjoy deeper, fuller, more sensory intimacy? Like, how do I do that right now? Anybody want to throw one out there that we can?
What you do?
We can take it, or somebody else who watches can
what
take
do you
that
do?
One.
If you're watching, what is it that you do?
Or do you not have any rituals? Do you realize? Right. Do you think that you don't have any, or do you, are you not present enough to say, yeah, this is what I go to often?
What do you do when you want to build trust? Anybody?
That's a good one.
When you want to build the feeling of trust, what is it that you actually do? That's what I want to hear. Anybody out there? I got friends. Anybody out there? What do you actually do when you want to build trust, when you want to build intimacy? What is it? It is important to understand that these things are created by our behavior. And on the smallest levels to the largest levels, somebody said, Somebody
Salt
just said
baths.
salt baths. Yeah, I was trying to see her
That's
name.
a good one.
So salt baths is a really good cleansing ritual with essential oils. That's a really good one.
And even that is so layered, right? So even if you
Right.
just say, I'm going to do a salt bath, depending on the oil that you put in there, it's a whole different kind of bath experience. So like now, some people do salt baths and add other elements, right? So I like to do baths in the dark, but with candles because I like the flicker effect of fire. So sometimes people do that. Sometimes people bring a glass of wine or a tea with them to the bath.
Right.
So now you're taking a salt bath and it's a cleanser, but you might also do, you know, some rose petals or some other things. So you can do a different essential oil, and have a completely different bath experience. Do you want it to be calming, or do you want it to be like invigorating? So do you have a lavender or a rose, or do you have a citrus or, you know, something else? Just a couple drops goes into your senses again and alters the whole experience. So you can say, I can think of 52 different baths that I would do and have a different, you know, intimate salt bath ritual every week for the rest of the year. And really say, this is a time that I can, you know, take care of myself, love myself, sit in the water, connect with the water, even if I maybe am not expressing myself. So, you know, when I did some of my rites of passage, you know, there were people who said, you know, I'm blocked up with my emotions. One of the remedies to that was to actually take a bath. So when I was with Queen Afua, she said, if you haven't cried and you feel that you need to, you should be in the salt bath, because a tear is the salt water coming out of you. So if you need to connect to the emotion, then you should go swimming. You should just sit in the salt bath then, because there's a reason why an area, just like the chakras, an element can be kind of blocked up.
Right.
Where you realize, man, I haven't been out in nature. Or definitely for us, we live in the city, in the bricks in New Jersey. It's a process.
Not Newark, New Jersey, though. Much love to Newark, not those bricks.
Just the whole from mid Jersey to North Jersey. But the idea of walking around barefoot is like almost obscene in some city environments. So the idea that you would say, oh, I took off my shoes and I walked on the ground. So I'm grounding and I'm getting the earth element and the, you know, electromagnetic or magno-electric currents, and I can lay in the grass. Most of us don't do that in the city.
Right.
And we have some really pretty created spaces like parks and stuff like that, but a lot of times, like taking off your shoes and socks, and then we're in the winter right now, it's not happening. So we're missing the earth element that is natural to us as indigenous people, that at some point, whether it's the salt from the ocean, or it is the sage, or it is I'm going to take my shoes off and ground for a few minutes. Those things, we actually need to do those things to be healthy at the physical and spiritual and emotional levels. So you have to implement these types of things into your relationship to also have a healthy relationship, to treat it, like we always say, as the third thing, the third entity or its own body.
So I want to say this to men, because we don't really take baths and all of that. A lot of times that's not our, you know, I want to make this very practical, because the bottom line is this. You know, we got a lot of people on here, and when we're asking how do you create trust or whatever, people are either choosing not to share or they don't have a way. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say most people don't have a way to do that. And they believe that it's a feeling that will come to them if somebody else does something. And that's what the problem is. And so for the brothers, you know, some of the beautiful things that our sisters do, those things may not register with us. They may, but a lot of times I find that they do not. So you got to know what's going to work for you as an individual, because I heard Talu Walasi Suzette Ayokunle, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Queen. I hear what she's saying, to build to still her mind or to build trust. She gave really good examples, but now that's what you do for you. How would you do that in the relationship? If you wanted to build trust, you might not take a big joke and throw him in the bath, you know what I mean? And he might not understand that that is building trust. So what we have done with these pocket rituals and what we encourage you to do is think about a mechanism, a way, a specific way you could do something. And as you create an ash circle and you taking your shoes off, you say, babe, when we walk into this circle, I want you to take your shoes off. I want you to take your feet off. When we do that, we're going to so-and-so. This is going to be the setting the intention of intimacy. Whatever you tell me in this circle, I'm not going to bring it up again until we get back in this circle, you know. And when you set that kind of intention, now you can measure it. Because if the person comes out of that circle and start talking about the thing, then now we're not building trust. So now let us go back in the circle, or else I have to do something else. And so we want to make this very practical and real, because we don't want you to think this is the self-care element and the self-love element of it is real, but you just got to practically have a way to build an emotion that you're talking about. Otherwise, the emotion is not real. And a lot of times, you know, my love for the sisters is that because men a lot of times are methodological step-by-step type of dudes, they're looking for a step-by-step. Now, they need to take responsibility and help create the step-by-step. But a lot of times what they're asking the woman, what is the step-by-step? And then the woman, if she starts saying, I'm going to take a bath and all that, that doesn't translate.
What is the issue, though?
That doesn't translate sometimes.
If you say, I am loving myself,
and you go ahead,
and I'm taking a bath to do it, and I do it at a certain time and nothing interrupts that, then you're saying this is what's important to me. Like, we all have things that are to our affinity, you know, so no, you know, we're not saying like you should just put some flowers in your man's bath if he's not into that. But if you're saying, you know, I trust myself, that I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to love myself, and this is how I'm choosing to do it. These are the things that empower me. These are things that give me passion. These are things that relax me. When someone can say, I'm going to do these things for myself, and this is the minimum that I expect, is respect for those things and, you know, assistance with those things, that builds a certain consistency, builds a certain amount of trust. Now, what a lot of women don't do, which I think is why the baths and stuff like that come out as attractive, is they don't take care of themselves. We don't take care of ourselves. So we want to do it, but we're last on the list, on our own to-do list. So what happens is we say, oh yeah, this is what I would want to do, but somebody never sees us do it. So it becomes, you know, there's no model.
It's hard to interpret. That's the point I was trying to make. It's oftentimes hard for a man to interpret that, because that's not our go-to. So you don't have to serve as his go-to, but you have to understand each other's and then create a new one that is a blend of the two. And that's what we've kind of done with the pocket rituals.
And everything starts with self. So like when we said last week about soul and soulmate being the S for self, the O for other, the U for understanding, and the L for love. And we're talking about the culture of love. Everything starts with the self. So you have to say, how do I trust myself? If it's time to build trust, do I keep my own word to myself? You know, do I go with my first thought or my instinct? Do I have a way to repair if my first thought was not right? You know, do I have a way to forgive myself? That once I know how I can better trust myself, I can extend that out to somebody else.
Okay, so I like that. So look, we're wrapping up.
Yes.
Acoma Heart to Heart audio visual program, and tonight we wanted to talk about rituals of love, the exact ways to do it. And we wanted to introduce to you the pocket rituals. Look out, you'll be seeing little commercials for them, but you can see them on our site. Right now we have the 4 elements of water, earth, air in the feather, and fire in the sage. And so you're going to get your little ritual card that says water or sage or feather. It's going to come like this. You're going to actually get the little water bottle that may have rose oil in it. You're going to get the quartz. You're going to get the feather. We have these new feathers now. We have a little big feather. So, but you'll get the sage stick, and you can actually set up these different techniques that you and your man can share, or you and your woman can share, or you and your child, or you and your friend, that can create these feelings that you want to get to. And then you will begin to consistently, like Nawasha said, trust yourself to create these. Because once you can trust yourself that I can effectively create this in myself, so you want to see, did this one work for me? Did this style of the water work, or did this style of the water work? And once you figure it out and you're able to do it regularly and it's working for you, then you're more able to share with your partner and say, look, this is what's working for me. So let's try this and see if it will work for you as well. If not, we'll modify. And then you keep changing until you get to something that is working for both of you, and you can both keep what works for you as individuals as well. And now you have 3 ways to create trust, or to create intimacy, or to create togetherness. And that will dramatically impact your relationship. So Akoma Heart to Heart is this program, 4 modules plus the rituals. Tonight we have introduced the rituals. This is the last phase of this product. You're going to see ads for the product going around. We really want you to take advantage of it. It is something that you can buy one time and you will use over and over again. The program is 50% off up until this Akoma Day, and then it's going back to full price. So take advantage of it. It's a great gift to start a relationship, to recharge a relationship, or to prepare for a relationship if you are one by yourself. So, you know, we love y'all. Please close out what you got to say.
Taking a look at this very last comment here that says, thanks for creating these products. I just want to say thank you for joining us on this Monday night, and thank you for your support. So we are just creating the things that we want to see, that we know will really benefit other people who are like us. So people who care about their relationships, people who want, you know, the indigenous cultural wisdom to be passed down, and really just want to have the best life. You know, we really want to create a life and love that we appreciate, and that is not full of regret, and that is not full of chaos, and not full of drama, right? So we already have enough drama in real life that we don't need to create more. And relationships can go so much better and be so much smoother.
What's up, brother?
When we use the things that are really free to us. So like symbolism, you know, patience, you know, the elements, the senses, these things are just part of life. And because we are living the way we're living, we're disconnected from them. So something as simple as this, you know, holding this, really seeing this as a symbol, it really does a lot. You know, so we've used it in workshops, we've used it in our own relationship, we've used it in counseling that's intimate. And when someone really holds a feather and says, wow, this is how light my heart should be. And if it's not, I need to actively have a system to heal myself so that I'm not bitter and angry like so many people. I'm sure you know somebody who's bitter. I'm sure you know somebody who's angry. And sometimes we're setting goals at this time of the year based on that. That's not what you want to set the goal on. You want to set the goal based on what would be the healthy state, not I just want to get healthy, but I want a healthy mind, I want a healthy heart, I want a healthy body, and then what does that mean, and how am I really going to do it? We know some of the ways to heal ourselves in other ways, like drink water, exercise, eat well, but when it comes to our relationships, sometimes we don't know the way to heal our relationships. So sometimes we're just like, you know, shooting in the dark, as they say, or we're out there in the field with a machete like this, trying to pave a path, and like maybe 5 feet to the left, a path is already cleared. Right. And we just don't know it because we don't have a rite of passage that passes down what symbolism is and how to use it every single day to lighten your life and lighten your relationship and achieve your goals and dreams and purpose. So that's really, you know, what our goal is this year and every year. but it's also our goal and our purpose to help people have harmony, trust, intimacy, and love in their most important relationships.
So that's it. The Acoma House Initiative Pocket Rituals, the methods to creating the emotional state you want. Reach out to us. Happy New Year to everyone.
Yes, Happy New Year.
We have a lot of great things going. This year's Acoma Day. Now we passed New Year, so it's on to Acoma Day. The focus is the culture of love. And so this is the 17th annual Acoma Day that we will be celebrating all around, little pockets of people all around the world. We're up to 14 countries now. I'll talk about that later, but we just want to share with you and teach you the art and science of Black love culture so you can teach it back to us and we have a fair exchange. So as always, we leave you in peace until the next time. We'll greet you in the everlasting words of Black love. And we say, Nia Acoma Hotel.